Alrighty, I think we're all set up. Everyone seems to have sound and video in the world. So with that being said, I'd like to welcome Emma from Digitalax into the conversation here. Emma, thanks for joining us. As I don't know if you guys in the world were hearing us chat kind of beforehand here, but Emma's been very busy lately. Been in the Token Smart Discord and the Whale Discord, and with the project launching here and the first auction live right now. She's been a very busy person. So thanks for joining us. And Emma, can you start off with telling us what your role is with the company, and then kind of just elaborating on what the operation is?
Sure. I'll just kind of dive right in. So my name's Emma, and I'm the CEO and the founder of Digitalax. So in terms of my role, I mean, I do pretty much everything from like wiping vomit off the floor to driving like the high level vision and making sure everyone's on track. And then in terms of the project, so Digitalax, we are a digital fashion project or protocol built on top of Ethereum, and we're focusing a lot on the NFT side and kind of bringing a lot of concepts forward from different vertices, I would say, looking at how you can kind of add more tangible value and liquidity and stability to NFTs and what that means when you kind of bring in the idea of a broader supply chain and being able to use NFTs and kind of these different, say, 721 and 1155 standards to be able to manage and streamline content or digital content from a supply chain perspective, and then have that shipped into game environments and kind of incentivize designer and developer collaboration. So I know that was kind of a mouthful of a lot of words, but really at a core, it's all about how you can bring new, I'd say, distribution channels and exposure to digital fashion and digital fashion designers, and then using NFTs and leveraging on aspects of DLTs and blockchain to be able to enable that.
Yeah, that's awesome. And the main goal of Digitalax is interoperability, correct? As you touched upon adding value to different NFTs, and the one way that you're doing that is making it so that if you're buying a digital clothing item in one of these virtual worlds or one of these projects, as it is right now, there's no way that you could transfer that out and wear it. If I bought a Decentraland wearable in Decentraland, I wouldn't be able to then deploy that in crypto voxels. And what you guys are doing is making it so that that one digital clothing item can be worn in all of these different metaverses. That's correct,
sure.
Right?
Yeah, so I'd say, look, that's kind of like the vision. It's a lot around looking at this side of how you can like enable a seamless digital experience. This is like, I guess, touching on more ideas about in the future. I do believe that there's going to be a lot more emphasis for players, particularly on a metaverse scale, of them wanting to be able to have a consistent digital identity. I mean, if you look at now our behaviors, say with like Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, all these kind of cross-platform social medias where we have a chance to self-express and show who we are, we often display, our consistent identity and like who we are really at its core. So I do believe when we come into like this idea of true 3D interactivity and immersivity, we're going to kind of have these same heuristics and desires and needs, and a lot of that comes down with self-expression and doing that through our clothing. So this is kind of where that link of digital fashion comes in. In terms of the interoperability side, as I said, this is kind of like the background and the vision of why we believe, going down this kind of use case and application and path, there's a big kind of market segment and growth and scalability there. But to start with, it is definitely more a manual side. So when it comes more, technically of the actual 3D models and the FBX files, being able to actually translate those into different game environments, it still does require reworking of the information in that file and making sure it fits with the particular graphic environment. But through our ecosystem, we're really planning to provide these incentive mechanisms for designers and developers to be able to collaborate, take these files, and then kind of with the NFTs themselves being able, or the NFT kind of standards being able to kind of, I'd say, transparently convey everything on chain and deal with a lot of that supply chain management side. It's about how you can provide these incentives and then eventually allow a player to, have their decentralized version of their dress, but then take that and have that voxelated crypto voxels version or that sandbox version, and then go back into like a pixelated Ave Gotcha version. So that's really, the bigger vision, and what we're aiming to achieve is that whole end-to-end process of shipping content to and then between games.
Yeah, that was one of the coolest things. Excuse me, I was muted. That was one of the coolest things that I noticed when reading up on the project, is that you were obviously aware enough about these different virtual worlds to know that there's a different aesthetic to each of them, and to see that you had included, like, you specified that the clothing is going to be kind of suited to the overall look and feel of the independent virtual worlds. It kind of spoke to I guess that you were on top of everything, right? Like, you're up to date on the different projects, and you know that they're very, very different. I mean, the look from crypto voxels to Decentraland, and then even to like Sandbox, and obviously Somnium Space. And I'm sticking with the blockchain based metaverses right now, just because that's what the audience understands most. But it showed that you were aware of the differences between them. And
Yeah.
I think that the interoperability part is something that, if you're going to try and pull it off, you kind of have to be in tune and in touch with those projects and with the community. And go ahead.
No, sorry, I was just going to add in. I mean, it's a very good point. And I guess in terms of being in touch, I mean, I've been in crypto and blockchain space for quite some time, and then kind of really having this passion and this lean towards gaming. It's kind of, my interest within that subset of crypto. But I guess, that idea as well of different look and feel. I mean, really what I believe the future is about in gaming, it's all going to be about, 3D hyperrealism, because this is just, I guess, games won't really, and metaverses won't just be used from this entertainment perspective, but they'll actually have like very integral and specific applications interwoven, between every part of our everyday lives. So this like move towards more 3D and hyperrealism will eventually come. But we're also at a stage now where you do have this like spectrum of graphics, and that can be more, from a actual functionality and purpose view of the game itself, and also creative direction. And when I say, more about this idea of a seamless self-expression, I do believe that it doesn't have to be just, exactly consistent and the same without every game, but it is about just taking it more for what that concept is, and then providing that different look and feel within the game environment, so you can kind of still match within these worlds, but you're still able to hold, a part of your self-expression and your identity. So that's kind of the part of that side as well.
Yeah, no, what you're touching on is perfect, is the self-expression aspect of things, right? Because more so than the monetary benefit that a lot of people are looking for with the digital clothes, the avatar and the digital, I guess, digitizing of things. It's going to be all about self-expression. And I noticed that you had the stats laid out, and it was the first time that I had ever seen the stats around digital clothing. I think that on the website there, you had mentioned that Fortnite had done like $2.4 billion in sales on just the skins alone, and that fashion in itself, not digital but total, is a $3 trillion industry. And obviously, so many people that are comparing like the Bitcoin market cap or the gold market cap to Bitcoin. Gold is about 9 trillion, and Bitcoin is, I think, hovering around 350 billion. And we're making that comparison between gold and Bitcoin. So it's only right that we make that same comparison to the physical clothing market and the digital clothing market. And then you had elaborated also that something that is intriguing about digital clothing is the lack of physical goods needed, and that you don't need to have necessarily this waste of materials, and you can have this form of self-expression and still feel like you are getting value through this in some form or another, whether it be monetary or intrinsic, without the wasted goods and the materialism that we attach to the physical items. So before we move on, I just kind of wanted to talk about the different virtual worlds and stuff that you're experienced with. Have you? I guess I know that you're still in your very early stages. You're undergoing your first auction right now for these clothing items. Have you reached out to any of these virtual worlds yet? And if so, who have you reached out to?
Sure. So we've been speaking with like a number in the space from Decentraland, Sandbox, Bitmoji, a few others that aren't actually just metaverse, but they are more on a gaming side. And we've had a really good response. We have some really exciting things to share on that front, and we'll actually be partnering with a number of them. A lot of that won't be coming out until I'd say more end of December, January, because we're waiting for these games to actually go to mainnet. So a lot of our partnership and work with them, it's aligning with their actual mainnet launch, and kind of like having us launch through that as well, which is super exciting. And I guess, the bigger response as well from the games, and something that was kind of really, how do I put it, like a kind of nice part of it was, I guess, Digitalax as well. What we really wanted to be in position was this kind of center between the games, and not, kind of isolating or siloing to one particular segment and then just going with that, because a lot of these like wearable marketplaces at the moment, it is the case that you're just catering to one game and then that's it. So you buy that, say, within Decentraland, but you're only limited to wearing that within Decentraland. If you want to go into, Sonian space, or you want to have your Avagotchi, you can't take that. And it's a lot around that silos. So it was really about how Digitalax could kind of break some of this, and kind of, I guess, create more of a fluidity and interoperability and composability from like not just a technical level, but more from an actual like business and, I guess, player experience point of view as well. How players could just have that fluidity within their identities and their self-expression and take that between games. So we're starting very crypto native, and I believe that as well. It's kind of a really cool place to start in terms of taking on the crypto ecosystem and being part of it, because you can do things and you can engage with business models and ideas that in a traditional sense just would never ever work. Like, even if you think about this idea of like DeFi and yield farming, there's so many gamification behaviors there that it just would never actually work on a proper traditional and global scale in that sense. But in crypto, you can kind of bring so much innovation and run with that and kind of be very accepted by the ecosystem in testing these new ideas and these new innovations. So that was a lot of what we wanted to do with this project as well, is about how you could start with crypto, how you could kind of test a lot of these ideas and bring in new concepts. And then you kind of have this then amazing framework that you can take into the traditional gaming market, because that's really our bigger focus. It's a lot around really tackling the bigger gaming market and enabling digital fashion in these bigger games, and these same concepts of that composability, interoperability side, and enabling designer and developer collaboration. These are scalable concepts into traditional gaming, but being able to start with crypto and then use NFTs as well to enable that distribution within the crypto sphere. It's something that we're beginning with, testing and innovating, and then scaling up later.
Awesome. While we're kind of, awesome. I had really bad echo in my last video that I did, so now I'm trying to mute myself and I'm forgetting to unmute myself. But while we're still here talking about kind of the interoperability aspect of things, one of the users in World wants to know if you are planning to use IPFS to store the layers and the clothing items here.
Sure.
He wants to know. He says that excuse me, I just lost it. Yeah, he says that he thinks it's important that interoperable avatar assets are decentralized. So, are you guys using IPFS?
Yeah, very good question. Yeah, so everything, all metadata is all stored on IPFS currently. And that's really how we want to keep it. Like, even the FBX files themselves, all of our options, so all of our garments and assets, anything that's issued through the platform and our designers, they're all going to be backed by the actual FBX that we'll be providing. So that raw 3D model, in a sense, that has all the relevant information. And that's also stored in IPFS, which is kind of this very, I'd say, unique and a scalable thing for the future, that then you can take these models and rework them and provide that, interoperability and that connection with different games. But yeah, I agree. Having, the files more on that decentralized side and not store within, Digitalax's kind of centralized ledger. When it comes to, scaling up and then really creating a marketplace, which is part of our vision, is having a proper, kind of well-oiled marketplace between designers, developers, game players, and this whole ecosystem. Having, that kind of transparency and that third-party trust is really important. So, yeah, we're sticking with IPFS.
That's great. Thanks for answering this question. So going off that, and you kind of touched on the ERC 1155 thing versus the 721s. And before we get into what we can attach to the different items, can you explain the difference between the child NFTs and the parent NFT that are within the assets? And before you do, I just want to say, because we had a very similar presentation in terms of like layers and stuff. I don't know if you're familiar with async art and what they do with digital art, but they have layers inside of one main image, like one main digital art image, and the layers can change over time. And like, so you can wake up one day if it's rainy and like the digital art piece can be raining and like it could change to sunny and stuff. So for the viewers out there, it's kind of, just think of in terms of like async art, because it's a very difficult aspect to like wrap your mind around. It's like, wait, I have an NFT, and then inside the NFT, like these other things can be changing, and I can own a piece of it. And Emma, feel free to correct me if I'm totally wrong on this, but I just wanted to lay out kind of a rough example headed into this explanation of kind of the difference between the child and parent NFTs. So Emma, go ahead and either correct me or elaborate on that.
No, sure. Yeah. So I guess the parent at like the very base, starting with like the more like raw layer. Parent NFTs, they're under ERC 721 standards, and then the child NFTs, they're the ERC 1155 standards. And how they kind of work together. You guys might have heard of the ERC 998 standard, which is looking at this idea of how you can have, child NFTs and then link them to a master token. So we kind of took a little bit, really, the base standard of that with a small variety, with focusing on 1155s instead of ERC 20s. But ultimately, these 1155 child NFTs, they represent like the modular and composable parts of the larger garment. And they serve kind of like three applications or three ways that they can be used. So maybe I'll even just share my screen and I can give like more of a visual, in a sense, of how some of that would work.
Yeah, you had great layouts there on the website that really broke it down better.
Sure. Do I need to activate anything, or I think you're saying it's disabled?
Yep, I just turned it on for you.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, got it. Okay, so if I go here,
Hold on, Emma. So, let me just pause you real quick. Last time I went to screen share from the regular video, the video in world froze. So let me just make sure that it's still up and running before you dive into everything.
Sure.
It froze and it went black on us. And remember, we're on that 10-second delay, so I'm just going to filibuster here for a second or two until the video catches up with us in world. Last time I had to cut the video and then restart it.
Sure.
I'm dying to know more about how the gold and stuff works within the NFTs, because although I did kind of understand it, I don't think I fully grasped the extent of it. Mm-hmm. And the video went black on us again. So give me 1 second. It just takes about 15 seconds to correct. I'm just going to cut it on OBS and then restart it. I don't know what the deal is there. Let me see if that changes it. Sorry about this, Emma. I'm getting you off your flow. You were really cooking there for a second. They're all giving me crap in world, Juxton. Let me see if this corrects it. It's funny because they're all just now catching up to us initially. Gone black. Let's see if it comes back, and then they can still hear us. They just can't see the screen. So while the screen's black, go ahead and tell us about the auction that's going on right now. Where can they go to the auction?
Sure. So the auction, we just went live yesterday. It's at www.digitalax.xyz. And then you can kind of click into it, or you can go to marketplace.digitalax.xyz. I don't know, I can type it in our Zoom chat if you want, and then we can share it. Is that me? But yeah, so
yeah, I'll put it in world for them.
Okay, sure. Do you want me to put it in the Zoom chat?
Actually, I think I have the link pulled up still because I was watching it. There's a couple really cool items there. I think the Hodl King was the one that I was looking at. That's the one I got really excited about. I was like, oh my, that's what I told you. I thought it was 6 hours. It was 6 days. I was like, oh my God, this thing's beautiful. It's only 0.05 ETH. Are you kidding me? And then I realized that it was 6 days.
A few days, yeah. So, I mean, we have over 30 digital fashion designers that we work with globally. They're all incredibly talented. Actually, a lot of them are doing podcasts on the Whale Community Discord over the next few weeks. We had Eddie, he's ex-Nike. He's like an amazing designer, and he did the decentralized dress, which you can see on the auction site. So he was on there this morning. So we're trying to like get more engagement and people, understanding their stories and how they came to digital fashion. But for this first auction, we're doing like crypto essentials collection. So everything to do with like insider jokes to, stories and ideas that kind of make up the whole crypto blockchain ecosystem. And we kind of started that way because, digital fashion, it's never really been done before. In crypto, I mean, there's certain derivatives like MetaFactory and that, but there's always been a focus on physical, and our project and how we emphasize it is fully digital. I mean, we don't want to get involved with any physical assets or side. It will always stay completely 100% digital. So it's kind of like very new concepts and ideas. But yeah, the first auction, we have 7 days left so far on it. There's 19 designs altogether, and they're all kind of very uniquely and handcrafted by each of our designers. So those designs themselves, and some of you guys may know, they kind of look maybe simple to create, but when it comes to actually modeling them in these 3D softwares, it takes like weeks, and then going back and forth and rendering them. So it does require talent and effort and time, and we've been working with our designers since start of October, not just on these designs, but on a whole kind of bunch of this whole library of digital fashion that we're building up and getting ready for the next auctions. And they're even kind of hustling on now to get kind of more designs out over the next week. So yeah, it's really exciting.
Okay, so we are now live again. Apologies for getting you off rhythm there. So we were about to dive into parent NFTs versus child NFTs, kind of how the child NFTs make up the parent ones, and the differences between them. So go ahead and pick back up where we left off.
Sure. So there's kind of 3 ways that I was saying in terms of how you can create these child NFTs on the Digitalax platform. And again, the whole point is creating the child NFTs to be able to attach and link them with the master ERC 721, like parent NFT garments or accessories. And these child NFTs kind of provide more tangible value and liquidity and stability into that, master token itself. So there's 3 ways. The first way is that users or even the designers themselves can come on and they can actually lock like crypto and real world assets, like for example, DGX or DGX Gold coin, and lock that within our platform vault. And then on that kind of say locked amount of digital gold coin, they can actually then mint a synthetic ERC 1155 on that is now backed by that locked collateral. And then that ERC 1155 itself can now be taken and like pegged or linked to that master 721 garment or accessory. So that's kind of the first way, is being able to actually come on and lock different crypto and real world assets, and then mint synthetic 1155 NFTs on them and peg that into the master garments themselves. The second way, we're looking at a lot at the idea of introducing price feeds and oracles. So someone could effectively come on and say lock more of a stable asset or coin like DAI or USDT, and they could mint a synthetic ERC1155 child NFT on that. And that child NFT would actually be tracking the real world price feed of some, say, asset. Maybe it was like silver, or diamonds or cotton. And we're working with on-chain oracle partners to actually be able to provide more transparency and trust on those price feeds. So you could say lock up, maybe take for example, I'm going to come and lock up $20 worth of DAI. And now I'm going to mint a synthetic child NFT, and it's tracking now the live spot price of, say, cotton, which may be sitting at $15. And then with my DAI in that vault, in a sense, I'm maintaining like some maintenance range that's able to kind of effectively keep real time with what that real life price feed is. So it would be, a little bit over collateralized. Say if you're trading your cotton in, do that price feed at say $15, you might be locking up say around $20 or so worth of DAI in terms of keeping that maintenance margin there. So now you can kind of, if you think about that, you have these minted synthetic child NFTs and you can peg them into your master garment. So you could have like a Bitcoin gold chain, come up and lock up some gold coin, mint the 1155, and then peg that into your 721 Bitcoin chain. Then you could even put wrapped BTC itself and peg that as a child NFT, and then have a live tracker, say a price feed of say silver or diamonds, and have that wrapped within the asset itself. So you kind of have your synthetic 721 NFT, but linked with it, you have these like tangible and liquid assets that have been pegged within that master token and garment itself. So that was kind of the two key ways in terms of how you can provide, I guess, these different composable and modular elements to that master 721, and also providing, more stability, more liquidity, because the bigger side of this as well was about looking at that like inevitable marriage, I would say, of DeFi and NFTs, and NFTs kind of being the next phase within the DeFi ecosystem. And it was a lot about how could you use these assets as collateral. So how could you take an NFT into a money market and then a lender accept that and allow you to kind of draw out a credit line or borrow against that collateral. And the biggest problem that we saw kind of in the space today was a lot around how you could actually provide liquidity and stability, for these NFTs, because although you might have, say, a highly valued CryptoKitties NFT that maybe sold it for 20 ETH or something like that, but how can you guarantee that you can then now quickly take that into a secondary marketplace like OpenSea and get the same price or value for it? It's very difficult with these kind of that non-fungible characteristics. So a lot of this idea came as well was how you could kind of underwrite some of these NFTs with more stability, more liquid assets. So now if a lender is accepting now this basket or kind of wrapper of child and parent NFTs, they might have this kind of non-fungible, high-risk NFT asset, ERC721, that they're taking as collateral, but they have these liquid child NFTs kind of backing that and giving some more tangible value. That if there was a default or a borrower couldn't pay back, the lender now can have this whole wrapper and then gain access to, say, that gold coin that was part of it, or to that wrapped BTC in a sense, and then liquidate those off in a secondary marketplace. So that was kind of the logic and the structure, I would say, there behind how those child and parent NFTs work. But to add one more element and a really a future side that we're looking at, and where we see kind of more of this, how do I say, like relevance maybe to the gaming side and how you can really build out like designer and developer collaboration. It was looking at, in the future, I do believe that particularly with digital fashion, there will be more of like a composability and open source nature to some of these materials, these textures, these patterns that are issued digitally. Unlike the physical world, I mean, patterns and materials in digital fashion, and like you were kind of touching on before, Eric, is like you have kind of endless supply, and you're not now limited by physical world principles or physics itself. You can kind of come up with really crazy and unique things that just wouldn't work in a physical fashion sense. So it was a lot about how you could kind of enable designer collaboration, designer and developer collaboration through open sourcing a lot of the actual underlying materials, patterns, and textures that make up these garments. So I was looking at how you could actually issue ERC 1155 child NFTs on the individual patterns, materials, and textures themselves. So a designer could actually come on and they could just issue, say, the pattern of the garment and then be able to monetize on that and issue that as a child NFT that then, say, another designer could actually come and they could take and they could use that and paying royalties to that original designer and then peg that within their parent, say, NFT dress that is actually using that particular pattern and kind of have more value there from that point of view. And the NFT kind of, I'd say, on-chain transparency, really providing that, which is that end-to-end transparency and verification of where these patterns and materials, where they were kind of born in a sense, what life cycle they had gone through and which garments or that they had ended up in. So it's looking a lot at that side of issuing child NFTs in the future on the actual individual materials and patterns. And then when it comes to more a pricing perspective, even being able to do really cool things where you could actually issue these individual patterns against like a price bonding curve. So you're a designer and you say, come on, okay, I've created this. It's issued in the Digitalax library as this specific code. But I want to issue, and control kind of the supply and demand from a pricing perspective against this specific bonding curve. So now that I have that, I kind of can provide, I guess, transparency into the marketplace and ecosystem that I'm issuing that, where buyers can come on and they can know kind of exactly what value they're buying into. And it's no longer just this like opaque PNG or something that you're dealing with. So that was kind of the third stage of these parent and child NFT relationships, if I'm not getting too crazy and confusing, but a lot about that fractional garment ownership and how you can make a garment and a digital fashion wearable, composable itself and break it down into these different components and then have kind of a bit of more of like an open source nature to it, and that collaboration of designers and developers being able to come and mix and match between the different patterns, materials, take that into their work environment, giving kind of royalties and recognition back to the original designer, but use that within their own workflow in creating something completely new. So I'll stop there, and there might be some questions or some clarification, but they're kind of like the three ways in breaking down that parent and child NFT relationship.
No, that's awesome. I think you covered it all. You might have to rewind to catch it all because there's so much information in there. Before we move into like how to design this stuff and how people can get involved with it if they're interested in it, I wanted to kind of back up and talk about the relationship between the child NFT and the parent NFTs. And while we're talking about kind of, I guess, embedding this value via, wrapped Bitcoin and some of these other stuff like DGX and things like that. Can I, and you kind of just touched on it a little bit, but would I be able to like buy a parent NFT and then have access to the child ones myself? And say, let's take that Bitcoin gold chain, for example. Let's say that I just wanted to, say if there's a child NFT that's like diamond related and then one that's gold related. And I just wanted to have the gold and I didn't really care about like the stuff that was backed by the diamond value. Would I be able to split the different child NFTs off of that parent one and only sell one and keep one or two of the child NFTs attached? Is that possible?
Yeah, good question. Yeah, so the bigger vision for this is it's about providing, I guess, power to the buyer in itself, where they can choose what kind of child NFTs or asset they want to actually peg or wrap or back, whatever you want to call it, within the actual Master 721. So like, for example, this kind of gold Bitcoin chain, it could be that you just come on and you're just going to issue that gold synthetic child NFT and peg that within the Bitcoin chain itself and not add wrap BTC or not add another asset. So it's a lot around kind of giving it more where the buyer or the holder of the parent NFT, they can choose when it comes to like issuing these synthetic NFTs, they can actually choose which in a sense, assets they want to actually back their parent NFT by, and how they kind of want to tangibly add value to that. So that was that side. When it comes to more the patterns itself, this is a little bit different because it's more looking at the actual marketplace between the designers and the developers, and having designers more issue the patterns, and then say a buyer or player being able to actually take that pattern and then use that pattern within their own ecosystem or their own workflow, or to create, a more custom garment design. But in terms of this side, it's very much where it's up to the holder of the parent NFT to choose and decide how they want to tangibly back their ERC 721.
Okay, awesome. And then could I'm so fascinated by this layering of NFTs, like the async art stuff. It's not exactly like this. It's a little bit different, but it's still like these different NFTs stacked on top of each other, which I think is just absolutely brilliant. Especially when you add the component of backing them with wrapped Bitcoin and the DGX stuff and everything like that. I think it's an awesome concept. And like I said, I mean, there is parts in the article that you have up here that I was rereading 3 times over, because I'm like, all right, I understand what you're talking about, but I don't think I'm getting the full grasp of it. So then we have the dress designs and stuff like that. Those are child NFTs, correct? Are these
So
the
yeah,
patterns?
so the ones I can see here, well, these kind of garments here.
Okay, so this is the auction.
The ERC 721s. So if I can actually just click here to give you an example. So this would be a 721 garment, the master garment itself. But then if I come here, material composition, you can see here, this is actually the child NFT. So we do actually have live now for the first auction that a buyer is getting these child NFTs of patterns and materials backed within this garment itself. So it kind of just did that more as a concept of where we're going. And in the future, these child NFTs will have kind of that, how do I say, use within the platform, within this broader idea of backing assets. But these are the child NFTs, which is the ERC 1155. So these would be the modular components from a material level. But say if this garment itself, you wanted to actually say back this with silver or gold, like a DGX, then you would actually be able to come on afterwards with holding this parent NFT into the Digitalax platform and the factory vault, and then lock up assets to actually mint or print more synthetic child NFTs, and then wrap that within that master ERC 721 garment here.
Okay. Awesome. No, first of all, that dress is stunning. The thing is beautiful.
Yeah.
Is that the artist there, Edward Harbour?
Yeah, so Edward Harbour, I can go here. So Edward.
Was he the one that was just in the whale Discord today?
Yeah.
Okay.
So he was here this morning. He's located in Portland. He is ex-Nike. So he's extremely talented.
I saw he had a tracksuit on his website. He had designed Olympic tracksuits for athletes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I think he also did, I'm going to get it wrong, I think it was Star Trek. He actually designed costumes as well for Star Trek. So he's very, very talented and really cool. But this is his garment here. So it's called the decentralized dress, looking at kind of, the actual ecosystem within crypto itself. And all of these materials that he uses, they all have a 3D printing side as well, because that's a big focus of him, is not just creating the digital version, but being able to 3D print some of these garments, which is really cool. But that's that side and how that works with the 721s and the 1155s.
So real quick, I want to test your multitasking skills here. Can you scroll through the auction page and just kind of show off some of the stuff while you answer this question of if people are interested in creating stuff for Digitalax, and we have a lot of artists that are interested in this stuff and just a lot of designers, how do they get involved in this stuff? Is it kind of open to whoever wants to get involved? Is there a vetting process behind it from your team, or is it totally closed right now? How would someone go about getting involved in designing for your project here?
Sure. Great question. So to start with, how we started all this, where, as I said, we partnered with around 30 digital fashion designers globally, and I can just click on this link. So this is all of our designers currently within our network, and they're located absolutely everywhere you can imagine from around the world. And they all have backgrounds in like 3D software and particularly digital fashion. It's a lot of their focus, but some of them are more like 3D generalists as well, and they deal with like clothing and then deal with other more like modeling or character modeling and these kind of things. But in terms of getting involved, we're always accepting new designers into our global network. So it's not so much of a process where a designer just comes on now and they can create whatever they want and issue them. Because we're very early stages, we're working very closely and really on a more personable level of one-to-one with each of these designers. So how the auctions and kind of how these designers, we just take this first auction, for example, we kind of talked with the designers and kind of gave them, okay, this was like a theme that we're wanting to go for, and then they went away, they came up with ideas, they discussed with us, we went back and forth, and then the process was really personal, where they kind of go away and create, they come back to us, we discuss different ideas and then go from there. Eventually we are planning where it would be more of like an automated marketplace where designers can kind of just get verified and whitelisted and sign up kind of within a more, I guess, efficient, just online process. But to start with, particularly for the first month or so and the first few auctions, we're really keeping it very personal with the designers, where we take them through exactly how the process works. We work with them, across different themes that we bring forward for each auction, and we just go back and forth and then kind of come to some really cool and crazy ideas. So in terms of getting involved, if you go on to the Git book, which I can even just show here now, if I go here, if you go onto our docs or any of our Medium pages, you can come to this page or section here. It's called Designers. It explains a little bit more about the actual network and what we're doing. And then if you click how to join, there's a type form here that you can just fill out, and it just asks for a few more details about the designer, your background, and then we will just get back to you and kind of begin an integration process with our auctions. So that's kind of how it's starting at the beginning, but eventually it will move towards more like of a manual side, automated side, where designers can kind of just sign up and really leverage our marketplace as a new distribution channel and exposure.
Awesome. And then real quick, are all of these items one of ones? Like, are these all unique copies?
Sure. Yes. So for this auction, and to start with, all of these are single edition. So there's only one copy that exists. But eventually we're looking at kind of like, again, as the marketplace grows and it continues on, we'll be bringing in like different concepts where you can have like kind of non-unique copies and it'd be part of a series or a collection. Some will be unique. So wanting to kind of bring in all those different aspects there as well.
That's great. Will that be up to the designer to decide in the future? Like if they want to do one of ones or multiple copies?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we will have that. Yeah.
That's great. No, that's even cooler because that adds the extra like collection element to it, right? Like even if you don't necessarily plan on like spending copious amounts of times in virtual worlds and like wearing this stuff out, you can at least have it in your wallet and kind of prove that you're this collector and you have this item, even if you're not like always spending tons of time in it to get the use out of it. So then I kind of wanted to talk about, and I know we're covering a lot. We're running up against like the hour time limit I try to set for these. But so then the next aspect of this, which is just crazy. I mean, I feel like you have all your bases covered when it comes to like an NFT project. You have this aspect of self-expression. You have all these different layers of these NFTs that gives them like a more aesthetic appeal and also an added value. You have value attached to them. And then you also have the ability to stake these items, correct?
Yeah, so we do have a native token on the platform Monotoken, and how we're distributing that is through the staking side. So Monotoken, there's kind of two main categories of uses. The first one is that it's like a loyalty and rewards within our platform and our marketplace. So it will lead to like being able to have discounts such as gas fees, even like custom designs and interactions with the designers themselves. But then also the bigger aspect of Mono Token and kind of like the bigger step within the project is we are slowly going to decentralize more and more of it out, and be able to kind of bring in more of this collaborative aspect, particularly between designers and developers, and wanting them to bring kind of some of their vision and kind of goals and perspective within the technology and the R&D side. So holding this Mono Token will also give a governance aspect where you can come and vote on different policies around treasury, monetary side, R&D, tech, operational, and also the holders themselves. Because they're kind of being very involved within the ecosystem, and we're kind of putting in the governance side to incentivize and keep that. They will also receive part of the platform fees that we take from sales. So that will be distributed amongst the holders of this Mono Token as well. So staking begins the end of this month, so in a few days, and holders of these NFTs can come on the platform. They can overload there. They can come. They can stake these NFTs, and then they can start earning Mono Token rewards. Mono Token itself, it's very kind of like rare. There's only 10,000 that we're issuing, and then that's it. And they'll be distributed across the course of a year. But the first 60% will be within the market within the first 2.5, 3 months.
And it has not been distributed yet.
Not yet.
Okay. So how? And I remember seeing, I can't remember the exact percentages, but there was one that there's a small percent that was going to advisors and team members, and then the rest, I think there was some going to designers. How can people get in on this Mono Token if they're looking to become involved in Digitalax, if they like the tokenomics of Mona, and they just want to be around the project? How would they go about getting their hands on some? Because as you said, it's very, very limited. It's only 10,000 Mona coins that will ever exist. So how can people access these?
Sure. So
other than staking.
Yeah. So in terms of actually the token itself, it's none of it is towards team or advisors. 10% was towards the protocol reserve, which is just the protocol treasury in a sense, which will eventually be governed by the Mono Token holders in terms of allocating, kind of what parts of R&D or tech, some of these revenue should go towards. And then the rest of the 90% is towards the actual staking rewards themselves. And we really wanted to keep it that way and keep it very kind of decentralized and running as a protocol. I mean, the team itself, we've bootstrapped absolutely everything. There's been no VCs, backers towards the project. So we've been kind of pushing everything else or everything out ourselves and maintaining that side. And that's really what we wanted to keep it. So that's the distribution on the Mono front. What you were talking about with that team and advisor side. So we had over the past 2 weeks, it was called our Genesis period, where we issued our first NFT, and people could come on and they could contribute ETH in order to gain these NFTs. And this ETH was going towards the liquidity aspects of our protocol and maintaining that over the course and life of the project. And here there was a certain number, or 3% of NFTs that were allocated to team and advisors that will kind of be given out again over the life of the project, with individuals that come on board and they help sustain. But the rest of that was given out towards the community and the buyers of these first NFTs. But the actual Mono Token itself, it's only distributed through the staking, and 90% is all towards staking rewards, and then 10% is towards the actual protocol reserve, which will be governed and managed by the Mono Token holders themselves when we move towards that governance and decentralization stage.
Awesome. Yeah, apologies for misrepresenting you there, because I know that that was something you're very prideful about, is that yourself and the rest of the team weren't taking a cut on tokens. There was no reserve for you guys to hold. There was no special assets that you were trying to get your hands on and then sell to the community. Everything that you were doing and the team was doing was very forthright and trustworthy. So apologies on that end. I just kind of gave you an imaginary 3% of your 10,000 token supply.
No problem.
So anyway, as we're kind of starting to wrap this up here, One of the questions that was posed earlier, and then also everyone there, if you have questions, make sure to ask them before we let Emma go. One of the questions that was asked earlier was that it's so cool to us crypto folks and NFT folks that there's all these different things in here, that there's these different layers and these different ERCs that you can play around with, and the nature of wrapping items inside of them. But do you ever see this as being something that if you are just from the fashion world, you can jump in and understand? Are you guys taking steps in the future to make it a little bit easier to wrap your heads around if you're just someone that's coming over from that world and not necessarily the NFT and crypto space?
Great question. Definitely. And I mean, all of the designers here, only one knows about crypto and had ever interacted with like Ethereum or anything before. So purely understand that is a big focus when looking at purely from that digital fashion designer and enabling them, with say this new distribution and exposure. They don't have to know about any of the crypto side. And this is really how we kept it. And I don't think some of them, we didn't even tell them, that it's an Ethereum protocol. We just told them about the auction side and how it will work and kind of different things there. I guess I'm going into a lot of the details when I talk in these podcasts and more towards the crypto community, because you guys just have that background knowledge and that interest. But to all of our designers, it was never really like a focus or even properly, how do I say, like highlighted, okay, that this is crypto and this is that. It was more talking about the vision and what we're doing. And really that's how we wanted to keep it, because sometimes from an outside perspective, crypto and blockchain, it can be very overwhelming and it's kind of like, an extra thing that people have to wrap their heads around. And it's really what we don't want for the digital fashion designer part. We want to just enable this for them as a distribution channel of exposure. And as long as that they can kind of get that and they can come on and they can work with our project and be able to kind of align with our vision and gain something out of it, then they don't need to know all this kind of back-end smart contract stuff or anything like that. So it's definitely how we've kept it when we deal with all of our designers. And this is also, I guess, why when I was kind of emphasizing so much before about, the designers currently, it's very kind of personable when we're interacting with them, because we understand that this is something that we're pioneering and innovating, and it's never really been done before like this. So we find it really important that we kind of take them through that process and we provide a lot of that personal side to start with to really make this what we want it to be, which is about building up a proper, strong foundation and ecosystem for designers to leverage and to be able to innovate and kind of access the digital economies of the future.
That's awesome. No, that's great, because I think that's what a lot of the newer projects are starting to understand. Not necessarily just the digital clothing type stuff, but I know that there's other NFT projects. One of the newer games that came out, Blankos, and then also NBA Top Shot. They're using formats that can onboard people that are just like from the collecting world and not necessarily like the NFT and blockchain based gaming space. So it's nice to see that you're taking the same approach, and very interested to hear that, or surprising to hear that only one designer or dev or whoever on your team has had experience with crypto.
Only one designer. Yeah.
That's awesome. All right, I'm going to give everyone a second to ask questions here. I think we're all good. Haven't seen any more pop up. While we're waiting for any more questions to trickle in, we know you have the auction going on. It's got another 6 days. Maybe we're under 6 days now. But is there any other way that people can kind of support what you're doing? Is there anything that you guys, our team, are looking to get help on, whether it be surveys or Discord feedback or Twitter mentions and interactions and stuff like that? If someone is excited about the project and excited about what you're building, but maybe they can't afford to purchase some of these things on auction, how can they support you guys?
Sure. We love hearing from anyone. So if anyone is interested, I'd say first step, please just reach out to us. Message me personally on Telegram or Discord, or we have email contact. Just Twitter even. Just reach out and say hello. We love hearing from people in the community. So even if it's just something as simple as like saying I'm interested, we have an ambassador program that we just announced, and we are looking to kind of really build up more of a stronger community within crypto. So that's in our kind of more information on our Medium and also on our Discord and Telegram channels that you can kind of check out there what that's all about. But otherwise, in terms of support, any kind of exposure or reach out, we really welcome. As I said, we're a new project. We didn't go into this with any like paid marketing or anything like that. We just wanted to keep it very organic. We kept it very low key actually, and really didn't do any marketing at all. And we kind of wanted to keep it more on that like information rich side and focused on the tech and really kind of like new innovation and more like standards that we could bring around the industry and helping the ecosystem grow. So if anyone is interested, like please just even reach out to me directly. I'm very active in the Telegram group, so you can kind of just get my my Telegram handle there. I'm active on Twitter. You can go there, or even on Discord itself. You can kind of just reach out to any of the community ambassadors that we're working with now, and they're very helpful and very knowledgeable about the project, so they can kind of provide all that information.
Yeah, focused on the tech. It's a nice breath of fresh air to hear someone who's building something in this space say that, and not focused on airdropping governance tokens to themselves and stuff like that. So with that being said, Emma, thanks for joining us. And Emma is the founder of Digitalax, so you can message the official accounts for those, and she'll get back to you personally on those. There's not a personal Twitter per se that you have to reach her on, but you can reach right out to the Digitalax media accounts there. So Emma, thanks again for joining us. I don't think we have any other questions. You nailed it. There's been tons of comments about your presentation and also the looks of the clothes themselves. So Emma, thanks a lot for joining us. I'm really looking forward to see how the auction pans out.
Thank you so much, Anurag. A pleasure to be here, and thank you guys for taking the time to listen and stay interested about the project. We have more updates soon.
Awesome. Sounds good. All right.
Thank you.
Yep. Bye, everyone.